Hello, hello. Hi, Karin. And
Hi.
hi, everybody. All right, we'll drop into the theme of more business today and leading a business with curiosity in a non-linear and creative way. We've been noticing that creating business we have two options in creating business. Either we go very, very linear and structured, goal-oriented, or we actually follow the thread of creation and create structure along the way that fits with the creative process, with the creation itself. So we're gonna dive into this theme today to give you some nuggets and pieces on how to create and lead an organic business.
Yes, yes, and it's a really interesting theme because we are in that process. You are and I am of creating that, and we were discussing before coming live. What do we need in terms of structure at the basis, and then how can we dance between the structure and the flexibility and the flow? Um, can you share more how you do it?
Yeah, yeah. So where I want to start actually is to really share about what is the importance of structure. Structure in the body is the bones. It's what's holding everything. Without structure, nothing really holds, and it becomes all flowing and fluid and a bit flask. We have a word that says like just flask. It all falls. So we definitely need structure to give a container to creation. Now, when we speak about business and we speak about our work, right? I come from corporate environment. So this is how I grew up. I grew up in a structure and a system that was called school. And then I continued the education in schooling and university. And then I went into a corporate environment that had a structure, a schedule, a boss, and people giving me structure, right? So when I did this leap and left corporate, I also, without my understanding back then, I also left a structure that was actually giving me a ground, right? So we cannot neglect the importance of having structure and sometimes the necessity of having external structures given to us. So it's easy and fun to wish that we can really be creating our own systems and it feels free and everything. And there's a lot of freedom that comes with it. But the freedom comes, there's two aspects of the freedom. First, the freedom comes from the commitment to your own systems and structure. And the freedom comes from within in the alignment you have with creation. But why am I insisting on this? It's because we jump from one structure that is very strong, for example, corporate environment, into, okay, I want to create my business. I want to share my services. You're going to find that you're going to be probably creating a lot of structure around your business because you actually need to be held and contained because the flow of creation is so strong that creating structure punctually is a huge challenge because your nervous system doesn't yet know how to do it, right? So when we create a business organically, we have to really, really be in the reality of where we are at. So you can create your own business at any given moment, but you're going to notice that it's going to take a certain training and a certain practice to really lean into creation itself, which is so vast, and to be punctually creating structures based on what creation tells you. Okay? So, all of this to say that when I started my business, the structure that I had was not the same than the structure that I'm creating right now. And it goes and, you know, for example, I was developing structures at the beginning of my business that were like, okay, well, every week at the exact same hour, I'm going to meet people and that's the fixed price. And this is logical. We want also this in our business. But what I mean is that when we lean into creating an organic and an aligned business, we are constantly listening to where creation guides us, and it's creation that decides. what structures are in place. So, for example, even if I have planned linearly, if I have planned that for the next 3 months, I'm going to work from 8 to 5, for example, in terms of work setup. And from 8 to 5, from 8 to 10, I'm going to be doing content creation. And from 10 to 12, I'm going to see clients. And from 12 to 5, I'm going to be working with team members, something like this. I'm just giving random examples. This is what I consider a very stiff structure that does not give a lot of flexibility. So what we want to be learning is actually how to be flexible as creation takes us, because when we tap into the intelligence of the body, right, and into an organic flow, well, sometimes the body's gonna say, for me to be tapped into creation and to surrender into creation now, from 8 to 10, I actually need to stay in bed. Right? I actually need to prepare a juice for myself, and I need to read a book right now. I need to learn about this theme. So the body and creation is going to speak to you in a way that your mind and the stiffness of the structure that you have created for yourself, they're going to be in conflict. It's not going to really work. There's a flow of really what your body needs to stay connected to life force energy and to creation. And there's the mind that imposes structures to feel safe. Now, it's a balance between the two. Like I said at the beginning, the structure that is imposed is required because the nervous system is not trained and resilient enough to accept the electricity coming with creation and the unknown coming with creation. To be in this real organic flow that I'm naming right now, you need a very solid foundation, solid bone structure anchored on earth, and a solid, deep, intimate connection with life force energy and creation, the feminine and the masculine within your own inner system. You can create your business and say, okay, well, if I have an 8 to 5 business that I really put myself into in a very, very disciplined and very, very stiff structured way, let's put it like this, there's no judgment on this. It's like, how can I reduce structure for 0.5%? So instead of having everything planned for a week, you're like, I'm going to have half of it really planned. The rest of it is flow. And this is how you train your body, and this is how you start training your nervous system to accept more of unknown factors. And you're like, okay, well, now my body feels like resting. Now my body is in creation, it's giving birth, and I want to write texts, etc., etc. So this is why we're actually creating this podcast, and we're talking about this, because I see a lot of people who suddenly quit their corporate job, or who are in this, I'm going to say, this fantasy, or this, it's not a negative thing, but it's a dream. It's a dream to create your own services and to offer this to the world. And it's beautiful, and I encourage everybody to jump on this path if it's a calling. But there's wisdom in creating structure around your gifts and services. And the wisdom comes from a grounded nervous system. The grounded nervous system will tap you into your innate value and your innate sense of power. Then you're going to breathe deeper. And then from there, you're going to create a structure that is flexible enough, and that the structure is going to fit your creative life force, rather than the opposite, that you make your creative force and you impose to your creative force a structure, which is what happens when we work in a corporate environment most of the time. So to go back to the question that Karine asked, which is how to balance flexibility and structure. This was the question, right?
Yes.
It goes in the lines of what I just shared. So I believe I did answer the question
Yes, you did.
as I was flowing organically within the structure of time right now.
Yes, beautifully, as always. But
Yeah.
it's super interesting because I love the last part that you shared of yes, we dream about leaving the structure and doing our own things and offering our services. And I think it's a good reminder that we also need structure in that. So it's not just, oh, I'm gonna go and share. There's work into it and there's weaving into it. And the embodiment practice really helps us to tap into the body, calm the nervous system, as you said, and then learning to follow the guidance, because I think it's really about that. Maybe you want to share more about that, but learning to navigate between the flow and the structure is really about being able to listen to where you want to be guided.
Yes, that's really, really that's so yes, guidance. So guidance is really the main ingredient with which we actually work, the inner guidance. So there's inner guidance coming from our body, and there's also the inner guidance and calling that we feel from the visions, the dreams, the soul frequency that we tap into as we create space in our body. So trusting and leaning into the guidance and surrender into the guidance is what actually defines us as creators. Or else it would be something that, you know, we have a good idea and then we create a business out of a good idea, but it's really not from this space. It's actually something that's knocking at your door and choosing you. And it's like, you're supposed to be the mother and the bearer of this project. And creation is choosing us. And we lean into this field of creation. We receive the insights, we receive the visions coming with this. And this is also where our intuition kicks in, and it's intimately connected to this flow of creation. And we bring this into our body, into our system, into our body structure, and our body's going to start moving in coherence and in alignment with this business and birthing, this creation per se. And the structure is going to be built around this. For example, if I'm discovering, and this is how I started, this is how I started coaching people individually. Let's say 15 years ago, I had absolutely no clue where I was going, right? I just jumped out of engineering, and the calling in my heart was, I want to work with the human being. And I know I'm meant to be serving the human being. So it started in very simple structures, offering circles. But then at one point, life reflected back to me, oh, everybody speaking about safety when they come to you. Everybody's looking to be connected to their body and to be more intimate in their life. Everybody's looking to be authentic. They want to be authentic in their life. So as a witness and as a creator, I'm like, okay, well, everybody's reflecting this back to me. It's not just a coincidence. This is going to be the structure. So I'm helping people embody their authentic voice and intimate connection with themselves. So you see how I go? It's more, what is life reflecting back to you? And how can you create a system and a structure around what life is already reflecting back to you? And it's reflecting you back your gifts. So it is unknown, but you get to discover as you go what your gifts are and what people want you for as a service. And then you start creating structure and systems around that, rather than thinking about, oh, I'm wondering what people need. Oh, I'm wondering what's going to get me money. Oh, I'm wondering, how I can have a month vacation per year. And then I'm going to create a structure around this. No, it has nothing to do with this. It's the total opposite. Is where are you being guided by life and trusting that when you lean into the current of life, there is an overflow and abundance. Okay. Now, is it always like this? It's not always like this, because this path is very, very bumpy and our mind is very strong. So I really feel super abundant and I'm in gratitude every day, but sometimes my ego comes in and sometimes my mind gets impatient and sometimes I want to control the outcomes and sometimes I feel out of breath. We are human, but the path of the creator and the path of creating an organic business is about curiosity. It's really about leaning with curiosity day by day, clearing our body, clearing our thoughts day by day, resetting every day, and being intimate with what is life reflecting back to me. What am I here to serve based on what I'm receiving as insights intuitively? And how does it want to be structured? And also, what are the needs and authentic truth of my body right now? This is how you're going to be addressing the whole picture of it. The embodied reality, the embodied truth, and also the calling and the soul, where creation is taking you, and having a good balance between your nervous system and the actual tangible reality of your resilience, in comparison to the infinite potential and the infinite electricity that creation has in bank for you. Yes.
So many good things. I love that you said you have to be curious what people are asking of you, and comparing it to what you want, what you think that you have to give to the world. So that's for me one of the keywords: curiosity, listen more than think or talk. So that's one of the things that really struck me in what you said. And also, I would like to hear you more about surrendering to the form that it wants to take, because as you said, you started with something and then you're curious, and the process of creation is really about surrendering to what wants to be created. I would love to hear more about that. How do we surrender?
Well,
It's a hard
that's easy,
question.
right? It's not. We are all control freaks. That's just the honest truth. But there's a reason for this. I say this very with a lot of humor and a lot of empathy and compassion too, like, just because the control freak in us is actually very intelligent, and it's here to protect our nervous system. And also because our nervous system has not learned to feel safe in our own inner structure. It has not been taught this, and it has not learned this. It doesn't have the direct memory of feeling safe into one's inner system and inner structure. Imagine this: from the moment that we are born, right? The environment that we are born in influences us. And this is our path. There's nothing wrong. It's just like this. But if we are born in a stressful environment, if we are born in a surrounding where there's a lot of fear, when there's not this understanding and consciousness around organic development of a body, where instead of really leaning on the bones and letting the bones push us into crawling, push us into standing and into walking, allowing also the spaciousness of our body to let sound and vibrations really come out without, you're so good, or without, oh my gosh, he's not speaking yet. All these fears that are in the environment where we are growing up, it conditions us. So the true safety is inside of our body. You've heard me say this often. So the process of surrendering is first surrendering in our body and surrendering into the feeling that we are safe inside of our body. And this is at the root of our body. It's at the level of the pelvic diaphragm. It's at the level of the womb space, the pelvic space, what holds us on earth, right? And once we establish this connection, this safety, the process of surrendering becomes more and more and easier and easier and easier. And the process of listening becomes also easier. The process of reset becomes easier. But it really starts from this root place of releasing what we know and dropping our attention into the unknown, so that it releases the control mechanisms, right? That it releases everything that we think makes us safe, to lean into what true safety is. And Yes, does this answer what you were asking right now? I think there
Yes,
was
yes.
something else you were asking.
I also wanted to talk about letting go of how we think it's gonna take form. You know, like that
Oh,
surrendering
yes, yes.
also of how do we let go of, no, it's gonna look like this, but you kind of answered that question, but maybe you,
Yeah,
if you have something more to say on that topic, the letting go of
definitely. I mean, definitely because we are here in the theme of creating business and structuring our services. So again, in the creation field, you're going to feel it's going to look like something, but the idea here is not to, it's to not be attached to what it's going to
Mhm.
look. Never be attached to what it's going to look. We have a texture of what it's going to look. We have a feeling and a potential, a frequency of what it's supposed to be embodying as a form, but we don't know what it's going to look. If we stick and stay stiff on how it's supposed to look, we're going to miss out on what creation actually is requesting from us, because this path is constantly asking us to live and grow and die and reborn and grow and erect and die again. And it's always like this, because the real true purpose of this is to actualize ourselves as soul in this body. So an organic business also follows your growth. So sometimes, and this has happened to me many times, that I was being ejected out of the own systems that I had created, because the potential and the electricity that wanted to occupy my body was not any longer in resonance with, let's say, the systems and structures that were holding my services in place. So what I was noticing is that either my Zoom rooms were always ejecting me out, like I would lose electricity, or I could not speak because my voice would not go through, or stuff like this. Um, so this for me is always a sign that the box, the structure of my business or the system, the services became too small for the potential that wants to grow. So this is always an alarm of like, okay, it's time to change. It's time to change, and it's beautiful. Okay, again, the transition process, transformation process, integrating the new, allowing the nervous system to integrate all this electricity, ground, be intimate with creation. Where is it taking the structure? Now, does it mean that the services need to die completely? Not necessarily. Somebody can replace you and hold the system for you. There can be a passing on of the structure. But what's the most important for you as a creator is that you always follow where life is guiding you as an embodiment, or else you're going to be compromising your potential and your genuine transmission and ultimately your gifts to the planet. If you tell creation, no, this, it's my timing, I'm not going to go there now, then you're hurting yourself. When creation takes you and tells you it's time to grow, it's time to go to the next level, you surrender into it. Fear is going to be there and resistance is going to be there, but you're going to be able to play this game of resistance for a certain time, but at one point it's just going to crack you open. It's going to crack you open. You won't have the choice. And then there's two choices. You totally let go of the previous structure, or you pass it on to somebody else and you delegate it, right?
Mhm.
I'm personally in a huge transition right now, and I'm going through this process where life is asking me to step up in a different role within the services that I'm here to bring. And I'm in this moment where I'm like, I don't want to just kill per se my old services, which is what I did for the last 15 years, you know? The amount of type of services that I gave always aligned with the same theme, but it took many different forms. But now I'm like, no, the calling is actually to create sustainability. The need of my body for structure is, I want sustainability. I want to create a system that transforms people, that is not always relying on me or codependent with me. So that's the curiosity, where I'm receiving, where I'm bringing curiosity right now. It's, how can this system exist? Who does it need? what does my body need to go to the next level, and how can this be sustainable? So I'm with these questions, and I'm naming this just to give you an example that at every stretch, new open questions and curiosity are going to come, and new insights, new intuitions are going to come, and a lot of trial and error. We have to get up and fall and get up and fall and get pissed off and frustrated and irritated, and then go back into the gratitude of everything and the pleasure of everything, because it's a path that we choose. It's not easy. It's not always super fun, but there is an overflow of abundance coming with it if we really, really tap into it on a daily basis from the centeredness. It's always there pushing you to actually break everything that's not true. It's so intelligence. It's just that our mind resists it. And that's when it creates all of this, just to show us that we are in resistance. That we're like, no, lean into the current. This is where the overflow is. Yeah.
Yes, yes, totally. And as we wrap this, I would say, just remember, it's not linear. It's not a straight path. We sometimes feel like we're going in circles, but if you feel that you are going in circles, it's just that you're going deeper or higher or on the other side. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything else before we close this podcast.
No, I think it's well wrapped up, and it's true. It's not linear. It is very spirally, and there's a reason for this spiral to happen. Be patient with yourself, but don't quit. Keep going. Train your body, build the resilience, stay intimate with where you're feeling called, and have fun. Have fun in all of it. Yes.
Yeah,
Aho.
thank you.